Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, as we, a bunch of international friends, gather around together to talk about our favorite things in the world. Movies, movie news, a little bit of television, a few other things here and there. Go Leafs go, and all sorts of good stuff. And I am, of course, thrilled to be joined today. This time, he's able to make it. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is here, ladies and gentlemen.
John, I am so happy to be here. And you know, the Hot Toys Thanos figure is supposed to arrive in the States sometime between April and June, and I'm very excited.
Oh my God. So I know the day that I'm coming over to visit your house. Okay. Also joining us, of course, is Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm great. Good morning, everyone out there. And yes, I signed in this morning and Rob was already talking about Thanos. I was like,
it's true. As soon as she signed on, as soon as she came in, Rob was in the middle of talking about Thanos as we were doing that, as we are apt to do, because we had a little chat about Avengers Endgame, but I'll talk about and share that stuff a little bit later. Listen, guys.
Very exciting.
Hey, before we get into all of our main stuff here today, guys, I just want to again give a little bit of a plug to mine, Robert, and Cody Miller's new podcast, Best Movie, Worst Movie. It is available now on iTunes or any of your favorite podcasting apps. Make sure you go find it, subscribe to it, rate it, comment on it, and listen to it. All at the same time, new episode is going to be uploaded tonight, so keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, with that stuff down and out of the way, let's move on to our main topics of the day. Now, how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? It's really rather simple. You guys select them by sending in your topics and questions by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you get to that webpage, you're going to see a form. You're going to fill it out and submit it. And then maybe you will see your topic or question as one of our main topics here on the John Campea Show. With that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our first topic today?
First one is from Valerie Mitchin. Hi, John. First of all, I want to thank you for turning me on to the Runaways. It's one of my favorite shows now, and I know you love it too. So I was wondering if you heard that Hulu has now officially greenlit a third season. It's apparently going to be a 10-episode season, which is pretty consistent with what they've done so far. So what do you think about the renewal, and do you think Disney owning a bigger piece of Hulu now that they may connect Runaways more with the MCU?
All right. And first of all, Valerie, I absolutely love Runaways. I love that show. I was really excited about it because it's one of the better graphics. It's my wife Ann's favorite all-time comic run. She loves Runaways. I like Runaways a lot. Brian K. Vaughan is a genius, and I was looking forward to it. And the show, I think, is great. It's great because it's a perfect blend of taking the key elements from the comic run, but it also does its adaptation for television. So it's quite similar to the comic run, but it's also quite different, and they find a great balance for it, and it really works for a lower budget thing that they put on Hulu, and I've adored it. Now, Season 2 was 13 episodes, so this third season order of 10 episodes isn't quite on par. It's a little bit shorter. I'm not a fan of these 10-episode season things. Anyway, whatever. I'm just happy it's coming back. Now, the interesting thing, you're asking about, do we think they could tie it more into the MCU because it's on Hulu? Disney is now a bigger shareholder of Hulu, all that kind of stuff. Well, it's interesting you ask that because the showrunners of Runaways actually put out a statement announcing the extension, and they said something that referred to that a little bit. Here, take a look at this. Is what they said. We are so excited to tell more Runaways stories and are so grateful to Marvel, Hulu, our amazing cast and crew, and of course, our passionate audience. Season 3 will be a magical time on Runaways as we deepen our connection to the Marvel Universe. We are honored to continue to play in the sandbox created by Brian K. Vaughan and Adrian Alfona. All right, so right in there, we see her referencing the fact that they may be having more of a tie-in to the Runaways. Now, Rob, in the first couple of seasons of Runaways, there's a few minor references made to like the Netflix Marvel shows, but nothing overt, like nothing that, so-and-so popped up or whatever. But it sounds like they might be moving in the direction of maybe now saying they're in the same world. Number one, Rob, what do you think about the Runaways? And number two, the addition of the new third season coming, and how much do you think we're going to see this tie into the MCU, if at all?
Well, look, first of all, I really like the show. Like your wife, I really liked the comics run when it first came out. And, I have all the hardcover, the omnibuses. And
of course you do.
I really like Runaways a lot. I really like what they did with the show. I really like the cast. I like the way, like you said, it's not an exact translation. It was a great, as was a great adaptation. I thought it really retained the essence of what made the comic book so effective. But I think absolutely tying it more into the Marvel universe, you know, because the show is set in Los Angeles, which is traditionally, I mean, to me, the Marvel universe's headquarters, whether it's in the comics or in the MCU, has always been New York City. It always will be New York City.
Yeah, it kind of has been, right?
Yeah, and even when they do, like in the comics, the West Coast Avengers, you know, it's always like, other than what they did with the X-Men and Utopia or whatever, the island off the coast of San Francisco, where the mutants had their haven. I think that it's good that the West Coast is sort of removed from the MCU. But I like the fact that they'll tie into it, and we'll start seeing a more global look at the Marvel universe, whether it's on television or whether it's in the movies. I think it's great. But you said something earlier about you're not a fan of 10-episode shows. Unfortunately, I think we're going to start seeing more of a trend.
I agree.
To shorter seasons. Because they get to spend less money, and it's still like when you start watching a show, you're not going, well, I'm not going to watch it if it's only 10, you know. 13 for the MCU shows on Netflix, the Netflix universe, sometimes were dragged out a little too much. Whereas I think that the 10-episode season is a little bit more manageable. They can keep the momentum going. They don't have the padded episodes. The story moves faster and further, quicker. And I think that's a good thing all the way around. Although people who work on these shows make less.
Yeah, and I just, to me, the issues, look, I've watched lots of television series over my life that are 22-episode seasons, and they were great.
Yeah.
So just tell better stories. If you are putting in padded episodes on a 13, 14, 15 episode thing, the problem isn't the length of the season. The problem's your writers.
Right.
Exactly. So I think, but whatever, I think you are absolutely right. Doesn't matter how much I moan and complain about it. It is the trend, and it is going to go more and more in that direction. And I think you're absolutely right about that. But still, I don't care if they're shortening up Lucifer. I'm just glad it's coming back. And I'm okay that they're shortening up Runaways as long as it means that they are indeed coming back. All right. Ashley, what is our next topic today?
Next one up. Well, first, I like the 10 episode.
Really?
Yeah, because it's less intimidating now. There's so much content being created constantly, and I just think that we're out of the days of like 22 episodes. And so, I mean, 13's good too, but yeah, 10 is just like, if someone's like, oh, there's only 10 episodes of this season, I'm like, great, I'll binge watch it tonight. You know, it's just less intimidating.
That is one of the advantages.
That's a good point, though, actually.
Yeah, it's an advantage for sure. All right, next up is from David Neeson. Greetings and salutations, Mr. Campea. I think one of the more underrated films of the last few years was Ben Affleck's The Accountant. That movie had a great story, wicked action, and was totally left open for a sequel. Today, I read Affleck saying that they're still making one, but they've been talking about it for a long time. Do you think they'll actually make An Accountant too?
I tell you what, David, I freaking love The Accountant. I love that movie. Unabashedly and unapologetically, I thought that movie was fantastic. It was exciting. It was funny. I loved the characters. The whole thing with John Bernthal and then the reveal of him in it and all that kind of stuff. I thought this movie worked on every level. This movie only made $155 million. Movie only made $155 million worldwide. That is a tragedy because this movie's great. I love this movie. Now, fortunately, the movie only cost $44 million to make. So even at only $155 million, it actually ended up breaking even and making a little bit. So good on them. But yeah, they've been talking for a long time about doing it. They first started talking about doing another one in 2017. It's been all quiet on that front. And a lot of people started assuming that maybe we're not getting another one. So anyway, Ben Affleck was talking Triple Frontier, and they asked him about that, and he specifically came out and said this. He goes, yeah, I hope so. I would love to. We've talked about kicking some ideas around. This last movie we just did, sorry, he was talking about the new film that was going to be called Torrance. I'm not sure what's going to be called now. The last movie we just did, we talked to the studio, and they seem interested. And they kind of brought it up. So we're looking to do that. I think it would be fun. I love Gavin. That's Gavin O'Connor, who directed The Accountant and directed the new film that Ben Affleck is in right now as well. I love Gavin. I love the movie I just did with him. I had a great experience, and I love the character in The Accountant. I'd certainly be open to it. Now, this is anything but a confirmation that we are absolutely getting an accountant too. But it does sound like that's something that's in the motion here. What I found most interesting about that comment, Rob, is the fact that he specifically says, we've talked to Warner Brothers. As a matter of fact, they're the ones who brought it up. Like, so if it's the studio that is initiating these conversations, I find that exciting. I have never been at all vague about this. I want another accountant. I thought the first one was great. I thought the movie ended. It had a great ending that still had a big open door for future movies. Where they could go with his and John Bernthal's character, I think is fascinating. There's so much good about this. I want this badly. Rob, what did you think about the accountant? Because I don't know that you and I have ever talked about this movie. And what do you think the chances actually are that we might actually get it?
Well, first of all, I'm with you. I love The Accountant, and I really liked Ben Affleck's character, his OCD affliction, and how, to me, I read a lot of novels like this about characters that are sort of on the fringes. They're involved with some kind of criminal enterprise, and I've always been attracted to these kinds of stories. I thought Affleck did. The man does not get enough credit. Like that whole movie really lived and died with him and his ability to play that role. I mean, I loved seeing him like doing estate planning for people, and that couple that has the farmhouse and she's got a home business.
That was awesome. I loved that.
I mean, he's like, well, how much of your apartment your house do you use to make your things? And he's winking, nudging, and it's like he's using the system to help these poor people make more money in their lives. I mean, everything about it I loved. The storyline was great. The action was great. And while I'm not saying it was as delicious to watch as, say, John Wick, just because I love watching John Wick shoot dudes in the head, right. but I think the character development, and it took its time, and it really was it's an action film, but it was also a fascinating character study, which we don't get enough of. And he was great in it. And I find Ben Affleck more and more interesting as his career goes along, because here he is talking like an actor, like, well, I hope the studio wants to do one. And yet he's also directed a Best Picture winner. He's really, I mean, talk about a man who by any stretch of the imagination could really be an arrogant prick, but he isn't. You see these interviews with him, and he really cares about his craft. He really loves what he does. And I think the fact that he did a movie like The Accountant proves it. He's willing to work underneath another director, sing that director's praise, take a role like this, work with that director again. Man, I would love to see another accountant. And my respect goes up for Ben Affleck every time I hear him talk or do an interview. So good on him.
Yeah, and this new film he's got coming out has got everybody really interested, because it was called The Has-Been. Then they changed it to Torrance, and now they're changing the name again. But the basic, it sounds a little close to home. So Gavin O'Connor's directing it with him, and it's about a guy, Ben Affleck, who was a big, I think, a basketball player, and he was a basketball star, and he destroyed his life from substance abuse, and it wrecked his marriage and all that kind of stuff. And now he's going back to try to rebuild his life by going back to his old high school to coach basketball there. It feels a little close to home. I mean, we understand the situation that Ben has been in, but again, I think that speaks to him. I think that it does, that he's willing to confront stuff like that head on, because he could go, man, no, that's too close to home, but he's embracing it. He's doing all that kind of stuff. And everybody knows I've been a massive Ben Affleck fan for a long time. I think he's a fabulous director. I think he's a great performer. He hasn't always been a great actor, but he's evolved over the years a lot. And You're right. He brought something to The Accountant from a pure acting point of view that I don't think he gets enough credit for. So
nope.
Man, I hope they do this. I want to see this get done. And guys, more of you, go watch The Accountant, because none of you guys saw it. Go see it, because it's really, really good.
I'll watch it now. I guess the title maybe turned me off for whatever reason, which is totally lame. But I was like, what is this? Like a pissed off, like he's going to go audit people? I didn't know.
It does feel like that, right?
He's an international assassin.
Okay, that's cooler to know. I was like, literally, The Accountant. I was like, with a gun. I'm like, what is he gonna bust into people's homes and audit them? I don't know.
Yeah, but the cool thing about it, for those of you who don't know anything about it, it's not OCD. I believe it's Down syndrome. He's got low-level Down syndrome, or what they call high-functioning Down syndrome, and he is a mathematical wizard. And so the basic setup of the movie is they call him the accountant because, yes, he's an accountant, but also like the underworld, the kingpins of the underworld around the world come to him to do their books.
Right.
And he's also like the son of a military guy who just can kill anybody. He can kill and kick all sorts of ass. It's great. And then they do this great backstory, a little bit of a mystery with him and his family and his childhood. It's so good. I love this movie. You gotta check it out. All right, Ashley, what is our next topic today?
Next up is from Xander Tanigawa with Steven Spielberg's argument about Netflix streaming service shouldn't be considered nominated at the Oscars, but in the Emmys instead. With a big surprise, Spielberg made an appearance to Apple's event to presenting their own streaming service called Apple TV Plus. Is Spielberg giving mixed messages to streaming service that he hates Netflix but loves Apple, or is this all just a money deal from Apple to help give people attention for their products since other celebrities came on stage about the future with Apple TV Plus?
All right, there's so much here to unpack. Let's start with, let me just start off the surface with the Spielberg thing. Spielberg does not hate Netflix. There's this thing going around, Spielberg hates Netflix. No, Spielberg does not hate Netflix.
No.
Spielberg's only argument has ever been, and you can agree or disagree with it, but he makes a point. His only argument has ever been that Netflix is a television medium. And just like when CBS in the past makes a movie for television, it then goes into the Emmys because it's for television. Spielberg's argument is not that he hates Netflix or that Netflix is bad. He has simply made the case that like any movie made for television, Netflix movies should also qualify for Emmy honors instead of Oscar honors because every other television body and outlet that has made movies, their movies get nominated for television movie awards. It's a different thing. Now, you can agree or disagree with Spielberg, but you have to admit he has a point, whether you agree or disagree. But it's not about him hating that. He doesn't hate Netflix. He doesn't hate streaming services. He just thinks one is definitively television, one is theatrical. So that's always been his argument. And we could debate that another time. But the real issue here is just the overall topic here. And that is Apple TV Plus, which, how is Disney letting them get away with that? Number one, like we've got Disney Plus, and so, Apple, how original. Apple TV Plus. Oh yeah, no one's done that in the last 5 minutes. Anyway, so I don't get that, but whatever. So Apple makes their big pitch, Rob. They put out their big thing yesterday, and they had, Tim Cook out on stage. They brought out a bunch of talent, everybody from Jason Momoa, Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell. They had video messages from J.J. Abrams. Steven Spielberg came out on stage to talk about this. What was it called again? Fantastic. No, what was it? The name of the magazine. It used to be the name of the magazine. Fantastic Journey or Fantastic whatever. The name of his new anthology show.
Oh, Amazing Stories, dude.
Amazing Stories. Thank you.
Amazing Stories. I was like, what?
So he talked Amazing Stories and all this kind of stuff.
That was a magazine. You're correct.
Yeah. So he's based the title on the fact that he used to love reading that magazine, so he called his show that. And they did all these big presentations to hearken the launch of, I keep wanting to say Disney Plus, of Apple TV Plus, right? Interesting note, there was a bunch of people talking in general about this, about yet another paid streaming service. There was an interesting quote in CNN from a research facility. And what the basic quote was this: while Apple may introduce a bigger roster of original content than Amazon and Netflix did during their respective launches, the streaming market has arguably already reached a level of saturation and consumer fatigue in the United States, said Colin Gillis, analyst at Chatham Road Partners. Apple, he said, is late to the party. Apple is late to the party. Rob, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I'm an Apple guy. I mean, I don't use iPhones anymore. I transitioned to Android, and I'm very happy with Android. But when it comes, I still got my MacBook right here. I've used iMacs and I've used Mac Pros, and I'm a big fan of Apple products and all that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest with you. I watched this presentation yesterday, and the biggest word for me was underwhelmed. I was really underwhelmed. It had kind of a, instead of what you're used to seeing at these Apple keynotes, revolutionary things, right? Their Apple TV Plus thing felt more like a us too kind of thing. Whereas everything else with Apple is always revolutionary. We're launching this and we're introducing this and blah, blah. And then comes along us too, a kind of mentality. And it almost feels like to me, like, I'm sorry, I was hearing about, I love Spielberg. To me, he's the greatest filmmaker of all time. But I didn't get excited hearing him talk about that show. I love Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, all that kind of stuff. But they're talking about this morning show. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting excited about that. Jason Momoa comes out to talk about this new show Scene, and it sounds interesting, but nothing that got the juices flowing. It's like, I almost feel like they should have waited to do this big launch when they actually had 5-minute sizzles for each of the shows that could have generated enthusiasm. Because I watched this as an Apple guy, as a content guy, and I went, meh. And it totally had that Me Too kind of feel, or us as well kind of feel. And then I read these other reports saying, this market's already saturated. Dude, we've got Netflix, we've got Hulu, we got Amazon Prime, we got Disney Plus coming. We've got DC and Warner Brothers have multiple streaming things. Comcast has already said that them and Universal are going to be getting into the stream because Comcast has a lot of content under their libraries. They're going to be launching that. Everybody's going to be doing these things, and we're getting to the point that it's all more expensive than cable ever was. Rob, look, you saw this thing.
Yep.
Is this still a good idea from Apple? Is it too late? Are people underestimating how much of a market there can be for streaming? Were you excited about it? Your thoughts on this whole Apple TV Plus announcement?
Well, I think you put it quite succinctly. I mean, the only thing that gets people excited about new content services or new streaming services is the content. Disney Plus is launching with The Mandalorian. I mean, they're launching with the first live-action Star Wars television show. Now, I don't care what else is on that streaming service. They had me at hello. They had me at Mandalorian armor that someone's going to be, if Pedro Pascal just wanders around in Boba Fett armor in some dusty outer rim colony, I'd watch that shit for an hour every week. I mean, I just would if he talks to people in Huttese or something. Now,
Huttese.
I'm watching this and I'm like, first of all, Amazing Stories was not, for those of you who don't remember, when Amazing Stories was going to be on TV, it was going to be this great, here from Steven Spielberg with a theme song by John Williams. It was a very underwhelming show that while it did have great world-class filmmakers working on it, it was, I think for the most part, disappointing because it never lived up to what it was supposed to be. So a remake of Amazing Stories, look, I've already got Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone, and I'm going to be standing there with my arms crossed, tapping my feet. And if it doesn't blow me away, the last Twilight Zone had a host that I loved, and it wasn't necessarily blowing anybody away either. And we'll wait and see. It's all about the kind of content they can provide. They can bring you as many celebrities. Look, we all saw that photograph from Universal's Dark Universe.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp, Russell Crowe. That looked cool too. And then we saw one movie and it was dead. So I would wait. I think you're right. I think it was premature. If you're going to announce shows, make 5 or 10 pilots and show us those sizzles, because otherwise that sounds great, guys. And I'm eternally optimistic about this stuff. I'm, like you said, an Apple guy. I'm talking to you on my Apple iMac Pro, which I love, that I edit on. And I love Apple products. I always have since I got my first Mac in 85 or something like that. And I was like watching this going, you guys, it's vaporware right now. It isn't anything. I mean, yeah, we'll get an Amazing Stories. Okay. But I'd rather, if you told me that you were going to put Brian Fuller's 4th season of Hannibal, I'd be like, yeah, all right,
Yeah, that would have got a lot of people's attention too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Or I'm like, Amazing Stories is an anthology show that's reliant upon many different stories and many different filmmakers. And the first time I saw it, it was underwhelming. So I understand Steven Spielberg's great, but I don't know, man. I'm with you.
The other big question that comes up here that was brought up in that article is that look, we are paying for Netflix. I am a big Hulu fan. Hulu only has about 25% of the subscriber base that Netflix does, but I am actually a big fan of Hulu. I like that service very, very much. I'm an Amazon Prime guy. I'm looking at getting the Warner Brothers streaming service, but like, I don't know, Ashley, when you're looking at this now, this new landscape with all these services, and Disney Plus is coming, and who's not getting Disney Plus with all the Marvel library, the Star Wars library, the Pixar library, upcoming new Marvel MCU TV shows, Star Wars shows, blah, blah, blah. So everybody's getting that. Does it start to feel for us, Ash, like enough's enough? Like, is there room for more of these? Like, what's your first thought when you look at this?
My first thought is like, oh my God, another one. But I think you're right. It's about the content. Like, first I had Netflix, and then I realized that I almost had to get Hulu because I wanted to watch, like, Handmaid's Tale, I think was on there at the time, or Search Party, and then Broad City, and then Pen 15, and then all these shows started popping up, and I was like, well, damn, I have to get Hulu now. And if you think about it, like, the money, like, I don't have cable anymore. And so I used to be paying, I don't even know, maybe like 60, 80 bucks a month for that. So now I'm only paying 10 bucks a month for Netflix, and then like $8 a month for Hulu. So as long as I keep it under $100 a month, I don't really care how many I have, but it does get, I wish everyone kind of wishes that they had like a packet that would tell you what shows are on what, because it's just the searching that's the pain in the ass. Like, just like trying to find what show is on where. It's like, I hate that.
It's a great point, because like, if I want to watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which everybody should be watching that show because it's crazy good, you got to have Amazon Prime.
Right.
If I want to watch, what's one of the big Netflix ones? If I want to watch Mindhunter, well, then I got to have Netflix. If I want to watch Runaways, then I got to have Hulu. If I want to watch this, if I want to watch Ray Donovan, I got to have, what is it, Showtime?
Showtime.
I got to have Showtime. If I want to watch this, I got to have Stars. If I want to watch Titans, I have to have the WB thing. If I want to watch, and it's just,
it's exhausting.
Getting it. And on top of all those, like somebody like me, I cut cable like 8 years ago, but I do have YouTube TV. So I can watch cable, but I pay $35 a month for that.
Yeah.
Which is great. But then it starts to, this a la carte thing starts to add up, and I don't know, is Apple too late? Are they late to the party? Guys, I want to know your opinion on that. This Apple announcement, whether you thought it was good or bad, are they too late, or are they on time? And this can absolutely work for them. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right, Ashley, what is our fourth topic today?
Next up is from Alex DP. Hey, John, I'm from the UK, and as of right now, on AMC's official runtime is showing at 3 hours and 2 minutes. I was wondering if this is a lock, or if it is subject to change. I love you and appreciate all the hard work that you and your crew do.
All right, thanks a lot, Alex DP. And okay, so this is something that's been running amok all over the internet for the last 24 hours. Here's where it comes from. All right. There are screenshots being done of, and this came up on my show yesterday as well. There's a screenshot that started going around that AMC on their official landing page for Avengers Endgame had a runtime listed through 3 hours and 2 minutes. That immediately got taken down. So when I went to go look, it's not there. So if you go there now, it's not there. Now, let's be very, very clear about this. This has happened several times before, where a runtime for something has appeared either on a Fandango or on an AMC or on some other ticketing site, and it turned out that wasn't the case. This has happened before. It's happened on a couple of occasions, actually. So this is nothing new. And it's turned out that that wasn't actually the runtime. This notion that AMC accidentally published the runtime, well, I know the guys at AMC. And I know their process, and it's hard to believe that they accidentally let that. I mean, obviously there was a mistake made. Yes. Could 3 hours and 2 minutes be the actual runtime? It could. It could. There's a legitimate chance that it could. I put no weight in this, and I put no stock in this whatsoever. Now, then some people will say to me, but John, Fandango also confirmed that it's 3 hours and 2 minutes. Time out. No, they didn't. Here's what happened. Okay, look, I'm just giving you the facts. You can follow the facts and come to any conclusion you want. So this number, 3 hours and 2 minutes, popped up on the AMC site. They immediately took it down. Whether it's because they weren't supposed to let people know yet, or that was just a placeholder number, or that was just an assumption they got from somebody else, who knows? But AMC immediately went, oh, that's not supposed to be there, so they pulled it down. Now, what happened was a number of websites started running stories that confirmed Avengers Endgame is 3 hours and 2 minutes long. Well, no, nobody confirmed that, but they were referring to the fact that somebody took a screenshot of that, and that's what they saw. How Fandango plays into it is then Fandango saw the people running the social media part of Fandango saw on one of those major websites, almost major websites, saw on one of those websites them running the story based on the screenshot, and they said, oh, Avengers Endgame runtime 3 hours and 2 minutes, linking to that website's article. That was itself just referring back to the screen capture of the AMC thing, which is no longer there. So, could the runtime for Avengers Endgame, could the runtime for Avengers Endgame be 3 hours and 2 minutes? Yeah, it could. There's a possibility here.
Not
there
long
absolutely
enough.
is. There is absolutely a possibility here. But all I'm saying, though, is all these people running around now running headlines of confirmed Avengers Endgame runtime is 3 hours and 2 minutes. Follow the source. It all came from a screenshot that was immediately removed, that then got turned into a headline on a couple of websites, that the Fandango, whoever the guy is running the Fandango Twitter account, saw the headline that was based on a screenshot, and they wrote, oh, Avengers Endgame, 3 hours and 2 minutes, linking to that thing. This is not confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. Again, Rob, I'm not telling people here that there is no way that this movie is 3 hours, 2 minutes. There's an argument to be made that it is. There's a possibility that it is. All I'm telling people right now is pump the brakes on this whole thing. It's confirmed the movie is 3 hours and 2 minutes, because it is not in any way, shape, or form, under any definition, confirmed. When we've seen things like this where a runtime kind of showed up somewhere, turns out that wasn't the runtime. That's happened several times before. So could be. Now, let's remember, Rob, too. The Russo brothers said a couple of months ago that there's a good chance that this movie, Avengers Endgame, could come in around the 3 hour mark. They've already told us that. It could come in at 3 hours plus. I think it's just going to be a little bit shy of 3 hours. I'm guessing 2 hours, 55 minutes. That's just a guess, though. That's just pure speculation. And at the end of the day, we're talking about 7 or 8 minutes, right? We're talking about the difference of 7 or 8 minutes. But there's almost an optic to 3 hours. Now, for argument's sake, though, if Avengers Endgame is 3 hours and 2 minutes, if it is, it by a mile becomes the longest MCU film in history. Now, sure. I'm just going to let you guys know, there is conflicting information on runtime on different sites. Like Google will tell you one thing, IMDb will tell you another thing, another website will tell you another thing. So these runtimes may not be to the pinpoint exact, because like I said, different sources give different information on runtime. But generally speaking, here's what we're looking at. You're looking at the shortest movie in the MCU right now is Thor: The Dark World and Incredible Hulk at 1 hour and 52 minutes. That's pretty long for your shortest film, so that's not bad. And right now, the longest is Avengers Infinity War at a clocked in 2 hours and 20 minutes, so 2.5 hours long. Some listed as high as 240, some whatever. The consensus I found was 2 hours and 20 minutes, whatever it is. Bottom line is, it's the longest one. Civil War, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Guardians 2, Winter Soldier, on and on. You can see the runtimes there. But you're looking at incremental jumps, right? So let's go down to Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 hours, 1 minute. Okay, the next jump up is only a 3 minute difference, 2 hours and 4. Again, 2 hours and 4. Then it jumps up 1 more minute to 2 hours and 5. Then it jumps up 5 minutes to 2 hours and 10. Another 2 hours and 10. Then it jumps 3 minutes to 2 hours and 13. Jumps 1 minute to 2 hours 14. Jumps 2 minutes to 2:16. On and on and on and on. If Avengers Endgame does clock in at 3 hours and 20 minutes, you're not looking at one of these incremental jumps, Robert. You're looking at like a 20-minute jump from the previous long one to the newest line. So, Rob, you're looking at all this. Number one, just off the top, though, do you think that the reports we're seeing around are 100% true? It's 3 hours and 2 minutes. And then what length would you like to see this movie at?
Well, I'd like to see this movie to be 6 hours and 38
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
But look, this is the return of the king of the MCU. I mean, I think we're all going to sit there, no matter how long this is, and drink it all in. But look, I think that they don't know quite yet. I mean, we're basically, you know, what's today's date? Today's the 26th.
We're 1 month away.
1 month away from when we see it, or when I see it at a press screening. You go to the premiere on the 25th. I'll see it the next morning, thanks to you. Thank you. And I think that we'll know soon enough, because they're going to have to, you know, book these things, make their DCPs, distribute them all over the world. So, and they have to know, because they've got to program this thing. But, you know, I think we'll know when we know, and whether it's 3 hours or whether it's 250 or 248 or whatever, I'm just more excited that we're getting the movie, that I get to see the movie a month from today, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they do know, maybe they don't know. I think it's all speculation until it's not. I mean, I think it's funny how in fan circles we're always like, oh, here's a movie spoiler. I've really never believed in that, because the movie's been made for the last 2 years. They've been making it. So there is no such thing as a spoiler. It's just what we don't know. The people that made the movie know, you know, and so it's only a spoiler for us. Now, I don't even want to know how long the movie is when I go in, because I don't want to look at my watch, because I want to just have it roll over me. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to be like, oh my God, there's only 28 minutes left. What's going to happen?
And you don't want to go, oh, this looks like it's the end of the film. But wait, I know there's another 18 minutes left.
Yeah,
so whatever's happening here, I know it's not the end. So yeah, this is an excellent point, Rob.
I mean, come on. What I don't understand is the movie's coming. Barring an asteroid smashing into North America, or me having a myocardial infarction and dropping dead on the street, which I hope doesn't happen, at least in the next 30 days. You know, May is fine, but I want to see Endgame. It could be my Endgame, but I want to see it before my Endgame shows up. And I don't need to know anything more. I don't want to know the running time. I don't want to see trailers. I don't want to see TV spots. I don't want to read one more. I don't want to watch one more YouTube speculation video. I just want to see the damn movie.
Oh, and once again, Rob has probably kicked a cable and knocked himself out. Oh, wait a second. Is he back? Are you back now, Rob?
I got too excited again.
But I didn't touch anything. I kept my fingers. Maybe I was being censored by the powers that be.
Yeah, maybe.
I was just saying that, man, I just want to see this movie. I think we're all excited. I don't think I've been as excited to see this movie as I was when I saw, I mean, it was not until since I was a kid and The Empire Strikes Back was coming out have I wanted to see a movie so damn bad.
Yeah, it's a lot. But again, I just want to go back and touch on this amazing point that you brought up, Rob, which is, why is everybody obsessed with the running time? Because that in and of itself represents a major spoiler for you. Because again, if you're at 2 hours and 20 minutes and something climactic or could be climactic is happening on the screen, and you realize, oh, we still have a half hour to go in this movie. I now know this isn't the end. I now know this isn't going to happen, whatever it is that's threatening to happen. Like in essence, you are spoiling yourself by getting a sense of an exact right. Why does anybody even want to know? Just go in and watch the movie.
Look, I don't even care. I look, as a genre fan who's loved spoilers my whole life, you know, I've reached the point in my old age that I don't want to know anything about a movie that trailers tell me too much. I want to go into this movie and be surprised. I don't understand what the fascination is. Why do we have this weird spoiler like society now? Like, I don't want to know. I didn't know what was going to happen in Empire Strikes Back. You know, and it was a revelation not knowing. I didn't know what was going to happen in Infinity War, except that it was called Infinity War and that who was in it. And I was blown away. I was blown away by Infinity War. I walked out of there feeling like I was 8 years old and that I could take on the world. I was so elated.
Yep. And, you know, the funny thing, though, here is, and I want to calm everybody down again, like, could it be 3 hours and 2 minutes? It could. But it is not a confirmation by any stretch of imagination. Again, we've seen this thing before and it's fallen apart. But I saw some people online yesterday. Well, I guess I'm Redboxing Endgame. And first of all, do people still use Redbox? Anyway, I don't know anybody that uses Redbox.
Aren't those people cool?
But I still think, I guess there's still a bunch of people who use Redbox, which is a cool service if that's what you like to use. But I saw a bunch of people saying, well, I guess I'm Redboxing it and stuff like that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get my Ray I don't know that I'm going to be able to get ready to go see it. And he's been dying for Endgame, but hearing that number, 3 hours, it's turning some. I've had some other people write in on the show, Robert. You've been on the show where some people write in saying, yeah, all my workmates at work are saying if it's over 3 hours, they're going to wait for it to come out on video and all that kind of stuff. And
sure they are.
Oh, no. Dude, there are. Like, not you and I, not the hardcore fans, but my mom's not going to go watch it at 3 hours. My mom's just not going to, she's just not going to go see it at 3 hours. She just won't.
Yeah, that's what I thought when Return of the King's coming out. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go see it because it's over 3 hours.
But you and I are different. You and I are different. We don't you and I do not represent.
2, it's over 3 hours.
You and I do not represent the average movie-going audience, though. You and I do not represent the average. And there are going to be people who don't go, and that's fine. But then there are other people who are like you and I, who hear 3+ hours, delicious.
Hell,
who
I'll
hear
bring
close to 4
man.
hours,
I'll
delicious.
wear a bottle.
But it is going to have an effect on some people. But to those people, I would say, relax. It may not be. But again, it's going to be a matter of minutes. Like, even if it comes in at 2 hours and 57 minutes, well, it's only a 5-minute difference. But there's something about that symbolic when you tell somebody it's 3 hours. There's something symbolic about that. So I don't know. It might be a few minutes over. It might be a few minutes under. Who cares? I don't care. All I want, and Kevin Feige said something a while ago, Rob, about this movie. Somebody was pestering Kevin Feige about how long is Endgame going to be? And all he said was, it's going to be the perfect length. It's going to, he said.
Goddamn right it is.
And Feige said, look, there are some 90-minute movies that feel like they're 3 hours. And there's some 3-hour movies that feel like they're 90 minutes. The important thing, Feige said, is not the runtime. The important thing is getting the right runtime. And he said, the runtime of Avengers Endgame is going to be the perfect runtime. And to me, that's all I need to hear. If that means that the movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes, then that's the perfect runtime for that movie. That's what I want it to be. If it's 3 hours and 2 minutes, then I believe that that's going to be the perfect runtime, and that's what I want it to be. I don't want them to make it longer just for the sake of being longer, but I also don't want them to make it shorter just for the sake of being shorter. I'm trusting Feige that's going to be the right length, and that, at the end of the day, to me, is the most important thing. So,
yep.
1 month! 1 month away, ladies and gentlemen, till we get to see this thing. Hang tight. All right. Ashley, what is our final topic of the day?
Final one up is from Chris Snyder. As we all know, Marvel hasn't officially announced any titles past Far From Home. My question is, do you think Marvel will host another announcement panel like they did back in 2014? I thought that was really cool how they did that, and I hope that's how they start announcing each phase from now on.
I'll tell you what, I was at that panel. I was physically there. I was at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, California, when they did the big Phase 3 announcement. And, Kevin Feige came out on stage. They had brought all the stars, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chadwick Boseman. I mean, they were all up on stage announcing all these movies. It's when they first announced that I think it was going to be called, the placeholder title was Captain America, the Serpent Society. I think that was it. And then that's when they revealed, guys, it's not Serpent Society. And they brought the title Captain America, Civil War. And everybody lost their freaking minds. It was a great event. It was a wonderful event. And it was its own Comic-Con brought into just one little session. It was great. Kevin Feige has said that they are not going to make any announcements as it pertains to the MCU and where the MCU is going until Far From Home is done and completed and in theaters. So we know we're not going to get any big announcements until then. Now, I believe Far From Home comes out in July. I think early July, July 5th, I think is when it comes out. So it's any time after that. Now, not coincidentally, Comic-Con is only a couple of weeks after the release of Spider-Man Far From Home. Could Kevin Feige use Comic-Con as a platform to make, and just, let's be honest, completely own Comic-Con? If at Comic-Con Kevin Feige decides to get up there and make an announcement about all the Phase 4 plans or all the plans that come after Far From Home, that would do it. But Rob, I'm contending that he's not going to do that. I don't think he's going to do that. And I'll tell you why. Because in August, just a month later, there's this little event that Disney puts on called D23. That Disney has been developing and working and cultivating and building for a number of years now. Disney wants this D23 thing to be a Comic-Con replacement. where they drop all the big news about Star Wars, about Pixar, about Marvel, about, I mean, whatever. I mean, now X-Men and whatever. It's D23. That's in August. Now, well, I still believe it is possible they could make a big splash at Comic-Con. Considering D23 is just a week or a month after, considering how much they've been trying to put into D23, I really suspect, although I wish they would do it at Comic-Con. To me, though, it seems like a pretty much no-brainer that they're going to do it at D23. That's what I think at any rate. Rob, how's Kevin Feige going to handle this? Will he announce it at Comic-Con? Will he announce it at D23? Will he wait even longer after that to make any announcements? How do you think they're going to approach this?
Well, I agree with everything you just said about D23, but here's what I would say. This is the year that Stan Lee passed away. And Comic-Con is, in fact, Stan Lee built Comic-Con. His spirit, his essence is part of Comic-Con. And of course, what Marvel has done with their logo in front of Captain Marvel, I'm sure that
so great.
They're going to keep that in front of probably Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. I would say that any other year you're correct, but I think this year there is so much buzz in the fan community, so much anticipation about what Marvel is going to do. They're going to be coming off of 3 movies, probably. Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home. Far From Home will probably have hit $1 billion by the time Comic-Con rolls around. That'll be $4 billion theatrically the MCU itself has taken in. I think it's too big to be contained at just D23. That's not saying that we might see yet another announcement at D23, but I think, like you said, Marvel was not at Comic-Con last year. I think that they are going to come in. Kevin Feige, ending the Infinity Saga, is probably going to roll up with a Brinks truck, and he's just going to sit on stage counting $100 bills, and then he might look up at some camera and point, and they'll show something and say, Fantastic Four or whatever. But it's like when Tom Hiddleston came in full Loki garb, and they announced the title Avengers: Age of Ultron, and I lost my mind. I mean, it was the greatest Hall H presentation I'd ever seen. I think they're going to do that again. They're going to, because nobody is going to be winning more than Kevin Feige is. I can't imagine any producer in the history of Hollywood winning as much as Kevin Feige is by the time Comic-Con 2019 rolls around. And I think they're going to milk it for all it's worth. And like you said, they're going to win that event. There's a lot more people and a lot more press at Comic-Con than there is at D23.
First of all, that Tom Hiddleston appearance at Comic-Con. People of Comic-Con, I am Loki, and I am burdened with glorious purpose. Oh, it was so great.
I mean, to get him to come out in character, in costume as Loki, first of all, I mean, I'm sure they paid him, but for an actor to do that, it just speaks to how much fun these actors are having playing these parts. I mean,
and Tom Hiddleston gets to be a rock star at Comic-Con. He's a rock star.
I mean, that way, and even an old dude, I'm like, I loved it. It was great. It was great. I felt like I was, again, 8 years old. I didn't even feel when I was 8 years old the way I felt sitting there watching Tom Hiddleston walk out as Loki.
The thing, though, is this. You raise a great point about this being the first Comic-Con without Stan Lee being with us anymore. That's a great point. However, I would throw 2 counterpoints to that. Number one, you mentioned yourself. Strategically and incrementally over the past couple of years, Marvel has been withdrawing from Comic-Con. Bit by bit, little by little, more and more. The second thing I would say is this. This isn't Kevin Feige's decision. It's Bob Iger's. And if Bob Iger has said, one of our corporate mandates right now is to build D23. And our corporate mandate right now is to explode D23, and we want it to become the Comic-Con alternative. And Bob Iger puts down that mandate that, any big announcement. If Bob Iger has said that this is our priority,
Let me just text him.
Yeah, get on with Bob. He's on the golf course right now. But if that's his priority, and that's their corporate priority right now, then that's a great sentimental thing about Stan Lee's passing. Absolutely. It's a great sentimental thing and all that kind of stuff. But the corporate mandate has been, we need to build D23. And you are basically throwing away your biggest pop, your absolute 100% biggest pop. you're going to throw it away and let it happen at Comic-Con when you're trying to build your thing to be as big as or bigger than Comic-Con. I don't know. Like, what you say makes a lot of sense, but
I mean, I think this one time, I mean, it is the end of the Infinity Saga, as they're calling it now, and the beginning of a new era. And that doesn't mean that Marvel can't do some new stuff at D23, but D23 right now does not have the global reach that Comic-Con does. And I think, you know,
and this is how you fix that, though. If you're Bob Iger, you're thinking this is how we fix it, by we make Phase 4 announcement at D23.
Yeah, but their marketing dollars, I mean, can you imagine the splash? It's going to be headlines all across the planet. Every website in the world is going to be talking about it.
But let's be honest. Kevin Feige can go into the McDonald's on Burbank Boulevard today, sit down with one journalist and say, while he's chewing on his Big Mac and McNuggets, so here's what I'm doing for Phase 4. In 5 minutes, that is going to be global news. That is going to be everywhere in 5 minutes.
Showmanship. It's coming off of an unprecedented 3-film run where they've made oodles and oodles of money. They've got such goodwill. And I don't think ever in the history of Hollywood has anyone anticipated an announcement more than Kevin Feige's announcement about what's going to happen with Fantastic Phase 4.
And it's not going to be Fantastic Phase 4. Anyway, there's so many possibilities. And one of the other possibilities we're overlooking here, Rob, is the possibility that Kevin Feige does go to Comic-Con and drops 1 or 2 pieces of information and then goes to D23 and drops the rest there. So, I mean, there is also the option. It may not be an either or. It could be a both and scenario. It could be a little bit of both and, but yeah, we'll find out. We will find out soon enough. All right, guys, I want to know what you guys think. Is Kevin Feige going to make a big future of the Marvel Universe announcement at Comic-Con? Or are they going to save it for D23? Or is there another option? Is there something else he may do? Maybe my McDonald's on Burbank Boulevard is an idea that might catch his fancy. We'll have to wait and find out. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, we're going to go to some live questions here in just a second. But you know, there's a bunch of other things going on in the world of movies and entertainment that we don't have time to make main topics. But I want to make sure you guys are caught up to date with everything that's going on. So we put together this little segment for you called the Movie News Feed. Check it out. First up, Bohemian Rhapsody was a major success last year, earning nearly $900 million at the worldwide box office on just a $52 million budget. The film won 12 awards from 7 different ceremonies, including 4 Academy Awards, one of which included Best Actor for Rami Malek for his portrayal of Queen frontman Freddie Mercury. All of this success, though, did not guarantee the film an audience in China, and many wondered if it would screen there at all. Entertainment Weekly reports, in 2016, Chinese censors banned the portrayal of anything they deemed quote-unquote abnormal sexual behavior, including same-sex relationships in films and television. Well, the film did screen in China, except it was missing a few key portions, namely any scenes with references to Mercury's sexuality or explicit physical contact between men have been removed. Despite these edits, China's LGBTQ community is declaring it a victory that this film has played there at all. Still, many people feel that the film failed to fully portray Mercury's sexuality if it can be erased by a few edits. Next up, when Godzilla returns later this year, he will be defending his title of King of the Monsters against foes such as Rodan and King Ghidorah. Mothra will also be making an appearance in the film, but what about the other famous kaiju from Godzilla's 65-year career? From Cinema Blend, speaking about monsters that aren't in the movie, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who plays one of the soldiers in the film and is a big Godzilla fan, recently said, "I'm going to tell you about my most feared Godzilla monster. One time as a kid, Godzilla was about to die, and it was Gigan. Gigan is a real problem, so I hope we don't see him because this is going to be way worse nowadays. But you know, Mechagodzilla is like a hidden gem right now." O'Shea Jackson Jr. said that Mechagodzilla is a hidden gem? Maybe he simply likes the character, or maybe he is implying something more. It makes sense to hold off on more monsters for future franchise installments. King Kong and Godzilla will battle in 2020, and we could see some other creatures from that film. Godzilla King of the Monsters hits theaters on May 31st. Next up, Michael B. Jordan has a full slate of films and TV appearances over the next couple of years. We can now add one more to the list of projects for the Black Panther and Creed star, as Variety reports Jordan will produce and star in a Methuselah movie for Warner Brothers, based on the biblical story of a man who lived to be 969 years old. Warner Brothers has been developing the project for many years, with Will Smith and Tom Cruise interested in the project. Michael Clayton, Rogue One scribe and younger brother of writer-director Dan Gilroy, Tony Gilroy, has penned the latest script. Methuselah is referenced in the book of Genesis as the son of Enoch, who lived to be 365 years old. So far, the scripts have focused on Methuselah's survival skills. Next up, if you're a fan of MTV's Awkward, which ran for 5 seasons, and Netflix's On My Block, which will be launching its 2nd season this month, then this news is for you. Lauren Lungrich, the creator of the aforementioned shows, has been selected to direct I Won't Be Home for Christmas for Miramax, a film Lungrich has also written. In addition to writing and directing the film, Lungrich is producing I Won't Be Home for Christmas alongside Eli Roth. From Deadline, the plot centers on a 16-year-old Grace, who's given the golden ticket to forego having to spend the holidays with her crazy family and instead go skiing with her new boyfriend, Tad. When Tad unceremoniously breaks up with her before the trip, Grace must return home humiliated with a broken heart to endure her embarrassing family and their ludicrous traditions. Production on the film is slated for June. And finally, it's been 28 years since clueless rockers Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan graced the silver screen in 1991's Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. A standout character from that film was the Grim Reaper, played by William Sadler, most notably from The Shawshank Redemption, Die Hard 2, and more recently as President Ellis in Iron Man 3. It has recently been reported that Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter will be reprising their roles in the upcoming Bill and Ted Face the Music. Now, JoBlo.com reports that William Sadler will also be reprising his role as the Grim Reaper. The Bill and Ted 3 Twitter account confirmed the report, posting this tweet which reads, "For those who have been asking, @William Sadler will totally be reprising his role." The synopsis for the film reads like this. When we last met Bill and Ted, they were time-traveling teenagers trying to pass history class and win the Battle of the Bands. Once prophesied to save the universe with their rock and roll, middle age and the responsibilities of family have caught up with these two best friends who have not yet fulfilled their destiny. They've written thousands of tunes, but they have yet to write a good one, much less the greatest song ever written. With the fabric of time and space tearing around them, a visitor from the future warns our heroes that only their song can save life as we know it. Out of luck and fresh out of inspiration, Bill and Ted set out on a time travel adventure to seek the song that will set their world right and bring harmony in the universe as we know it. Together with the aid of their daughters, a new crop of historical figures, and some sympathetic music legends, Bill and Ted find much, much more than just a song. Bill and Ted Face the Music hits theaters on August 21st, 2020. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on all the good stuff going on in the worlds of entertainment, so thank you for joining us for that little segment of the Movie News Feed. Now, guys, we've saved some time to go over and take your live questions. A bunch of you guys have been firing in a whole ton of questions, so Ashley, get things started. What's going on?
Oh my God, I can't wait for Bill and Ted. I'm going to freak out. I love it. Brian Esparza, over under 10%, both Steve and Tony die in Endgame.
Ooh, 10%'s a good line. That's really low. I'll take over 10. Like, I don't think either of them are going to die, but I certainly don't think both of them will die, but 10%'s a low number. I'll take the over on that. Rob?
I can't imagine both of them die, so I don't know.
Not even 10%? You don't even give it a 10%? Under 10%? All right, what's next?
Yeah. And Jesus said just exactly 1 month from this day till everyone's next most anticipated movie, Endgame. It's getting close. Definitely not drinking water during a 3-hour movie.
That's yet again why we should have an intermission for any movie over 3 hours long, so people can enjoy a drink and not have to worry about missing some of the movie to go to the bathroom, Rob. But it's 1 month. We're getting a little bit excited. All right, what's next?
I just want to know the runtime, not because I care if it's 3 hours or whatever. Like, I can sit through a 3-hour movie. It's because I have to plan it. Like, I'm not going to go at 10 p.m. to a 3-hour movie if I have to work the next morning.
That's true.
It's just for planning purposes. And Alpha, oh, unlikely, but here's why Tony could have had a vision in Ultron. When Wanda used her power on Thor, he saw signs of Ragnarok stones and Vision's birth. Continue to. It's why he goes to the cave to return to his dream. After Vision's born, Captain even asks, why does your vision sound like Jarvis? Hence his name.
Yeah, like my whole case on this thing has always been, remember, that wasn't a vision that Tony had. Scarlet Witch doesn't have the power to let somebody see the future. She was making them see their deepest fears and their worst nightmares. And Tony's worst nightmare was he'd be responsible for everybody, for failing everybody and for letting everybody die. That was his biggest fear. You do raise a good point about the Thor stuff. I mean, ultimately his real vision was when he went and pursued into the magical pool. That was the worst part of Age of Ultron, by the way. That scene was just ridiculous. Dive into the magical waters. I didn't think that, but I know, Rob, what's your whole position on this? Was Tony in Ultron, was he seeing the future? Was there a little bit, I mean, how do you see that?
No, because Wanda didn't know the future. I mean, like you said, she was tapping into their fears. That was really the whole point. I mean, it was right there in the text, you know. And I think the whole point, what's really been interesting ever since Iron Man 1, 11 years ago, Iron Man's, when he had his change of heart and saw what Stark Industries weapons did, his idea was to first repent for what his family and his business had been creating, and secondly, his job look, the underlying metaphor, the underlying premise of the entire Marvel universe is, with great power comes great responsibility. It's not just for Spider-Man. And Tony Stark has wanted to protect the world. And the stakes have increased throughout the Infinity Saga to the point where this is it, man. This is the extraterrestrial nightmare that Tony Stark believed could have happened. It happened. Half the population of the Earth was decimated. And he failed. Tony Stark is looking for redemption. He's a beaten, demoralized human being, and that was it. His horror, his vision that Scarlet Witch provided came true, and it's much more horrible than she even could have come up with.
All right, what's next?
Jay Meister, 25. Never been more excited for a movie than Endgame.
I think there have been a couple I've been more excited for. Like, I was more excited for. Honestly, I was more excited for the Phantom Menace. Angels
in the outfield too.
Probably more excited for The Force Awakens as well. But man, I was probably more excited for Man of Steel. I was super stupid excited for Man of Steel. I love Superman. But this ranks up there. But Rob, I think you were saying, I don't think you've ever remembered looking forward to a movie more.
Nope. I mean, I am so excited for this movie. I think I'm gonna, you know, I'll give myself a brain aneurysm because the giddy excitement I feel is boiling my brain.
All right, what's next?
Ben Jesusa, also your favorite tag team, the Hart Foundation, has been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. John, sad Jim Neidhart isn't alive to witness.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart of the Hart Foundation, the greatest tag team of all time. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Of course, Bret the Hitman Hart, one half of the tag team champions, was already in the Hall of Fame. It's great to see Jim Neidhart get the Hart Found. Seriously, you guys got to watch some stuff on the Hart family. The Hart family, their roots are so ingrained. Everything from the British Bulldogs, Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, who their brother-in-laws were and who married their sisters. Now Jim Neidhart is a big WWE superstar herself. It's an incredible family legacy, and they were the best. I used to love watching them. They were fantastic. All right, what's next?
Christopher Benson, you should never underestimate the predictability of stupidity.
That's from Guy Ritchie's Snatch. Bullet Tooth Tony. Never underestimate the power of stupidity. First of all, people sometimes ask me, like, well, why do you like Guy Ritchie so much? Okay, I've just identified you as somebody who's never seen Snatch. And possibly never seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You've probably only seen his King Arthur movie and maybe his Sherlock Holmes movies. But if you watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, you'll get it. I love that line so much. All right, what's next?
That sounds like a Rob line to me.
It kind of does.
The dude was married to Madonna. Come on.
I forgot about that.
He's awesome.
All right, what's next?
Brian Esparza, more likely for Cap to say, Avengers, assemble. I can do this all day to Thanos or main villain, or I'm with you to the end of the line to Tony.
Well, the I'm with you to the end of the line, that's a line for Bucky. That's a line he gives Bucky. I can do this all day. I do believe we're going to hear that. I don't know that it'll be to Thanos. I got to go with Avengers Assemble. Look, they know everybody's been waiting for that line. They teased it at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. I got to go Avengers Assemble. Rob, what do you think?
I'm with you 100%. I think the over-under is 100%. He's going to say Avengers Assemble in this movie.
All right, what's next?
I mean, it's 100% over. It's 100% assured.
What's next?
There's no point spread.
Or you'll just shout it out in the theater.
I will.
Ben Rayner, Apple Plus sounds meh to me. Not enough appealing content to drive men interest. Much more into Disney Plus for me.
Yeah, I don't look when you know what Disney has coming, and you know Disney's already announced MCU live action shows that are directly affiliated with the Marvel Universe, with Star Wars live action shows coming, with the library they have coming, and blah, blah, blah. And you launch your announcement for this service like that? I got to say, Apple is a $1 trillion company that could buy and sell Disney 3 times over. But they should have done a better job. I mean, you and I have already talked about that, though, right? Like, they should have done a better job, right?
I mean, if you announce, in this day and age, where content, I mean, you drop a piece of content and it ripples across the world. You know, Stranger Things 3 has that weird trailer about the mall, the shopping mall that they had, 3 or 4 months ago. Even that, people are like, oh, Stranger Things 3, they're excited. I mean, amazing stories. Hey, you're doing a revival of an 80s anthology TV show that was only kind of good back in the day. That is not an exciting release announcement. You need a slate. Give me a slate of something exciting, you know.
And show me something. Show me something.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
And you're going to want people to invest. You're asking people to invest.
And they never told people how much it's going to cost.
No.
Which, by the way, Disney hasn't told people what it's going to cost either. So can't hold that against them. All right, what's next?
Stephen Mina, a Marvel character you want to see on the big screen?
Go ahead, Rob.
Moon Knight.
We all knew that was coming.
Moon Knight. Give it to me now. Give
all right,
me Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, and Jake
What's
Lockley.
next?
Zach Bartron, do you have any collections that people have told you is weird? My family said it's weird that I collect ghost face masks from Scream.
I'm oddly enough, I'm not, other than, I mean, obviously I have Pops behind me, but oddly enough, I've never been a big collector. I've never been a big collector of stuff. I used to love collecting. I don't know why. I used to collect antique theology books. I used to love that. I used to collect a bunch of those, and I still have a bunch of them in storage somewhere. But honestly, that's about it. Rob, you've been known to collect a few things.
Well, I've got a whole wall of the blood of virgins from throughout history. They go back 3,000 years, some of my vials of blood. No, I don't do that. I collect Hot Toys figures, comic books, Blu-rays, and books, pretty much. And model kits and flying model rockets. That's about it. Nothing weird, though. I mean, I think, you know, I think some people have I had a girl that I dated for a while. She wouldn't spend the night at my house because she was terrified of my action figures.
Oh, you did tell me about that. Hey, listen, I've got to throw this in here. I just got a message from fact checker Jonathan, who has sent me this, and this is now up on Marvel Studios' Instagram account.
Uh-oh.
Avenge the Fallen with Valkyrie on the cover, dated April 26. On April 26, Avenge the Fallen. You know, it looks like Valkyrie is back for Avengers Endgame. So it looks like she did indeed. Well, we knew she got off the ship anyway, but that's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder who else. Oh, God, please put out a Korg poster that says Avenge and make it say Avenge Doug or something like that. Make it say that. Avenge Doug. That would be great.
I hope they just keep dropping these on their Instagram page.
I do too. Avenge the Fallen, piss off Ghost. I want to see that as well. That's great. Thank you, Jonathan. He's fact checker, Jonathan. He's on the ball. Look at that. I like that poster too. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. All right. What's next?
Jordan Solis. Why do people say Peele is the next big thing? I'm like, bro, chill out. He made 2 films. He's got ways to go even to even be considered in that upper echelon.
I absolutely agree. Look, I really like Get Out. And I quite enjoyed Us, not as much as Get Out, but I quite enjoyed Us. But hold off, just pump the brakes a little bit on the whole crowning him as the next Spielberg. Remember the last time that happened? It was the Sham Hammer. Remember that big magazine cover? The next Steven Spielberg. He put out a couple really good films, and then came the fall.
Sham Hammer.
He's the Sham, and I mean that as a term of endearment. The Sham Hammer. He's not just M. Night Shyamalan. He is the Sham Hammer. Anyway, let's just pump the brakes. I still contend the ending of Us is a complete mess. I think the ending of Us makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And me and my buddy sat down, we picked apart like 30 plus problems with the ending. But I still really like the film because the first 7/8 of the film is great, and tension and good humor and all that kind of stuff. Again, I did like Get Out better, but he's 2 for 2. He's put out 2 winning films. Great. Come back and talk to me when he's put out like 7 films in a row, like Christopher Nolan has, or whatever that has that. Look, I love Jordan Peele, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Rob, like, should we be crowning him at this point?
Look, I think that everybody who saw Key and Peele loved Key and Peele. I mean, yes. Everyone, you say Neeson's, everyone knows what you're talking about. And I think one of the things about Mr. Peele is that he has such goodwill because people liked him so much as doing a sketch comedy, and the fact that he transitioned over to being a very accomplished film director who won an Academy Award his first time at bat for writing a screenplay, he just has a lot of goodwill. And the fact that he came out with he's got Us, he's got the Twilight Zone revival. Right now, Jordan Peele can do no wrong, and he's doing a lot of exciting things, and you just want to really like the guy. And I think he's got that, but I don't want to see him stumble or fail. But look, he's basically making some great, in a way, even though he's doing them for Blumhouse, indie films. And he's come out, he's made 2 films that are innovative. He's not resting on his laurels. He's not being lazy. He's creating some unique new visions. And I think he's made people excited about movies again, specifically his movies. And I think that's great when anybody can do that, because we're so in our jaded, I'm going to look down my nose at this, when Jordan Peele can come along and basically be 2 for 2 and make 2 really interesting, unique visions. That's great.
Yeah, and
but I don't know if he's going to be Spielberg.
He could have done the easy thing too and come out and done comedy, right? Because that's right in his wheelhouse. That's what everybody knows him for. He came out, even for himself, he innovated. He did something new and different. Listen, this is a guy we got to keep our eyes on. But pump the brakes on the next great thing for let's let him put out a couple more and see where we're at. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Brad Timms, look, I know Marvel really dropped the ball with fake deaths, but I think Endgame will finally be the film where they permanently kill off some major. I have no evidence for this, just a feeling.
This is the problem with all the fake deaths in the MCU, is that when they try to give us an emotionally powerful scene with somebody dying, aka Peter Parker dying in Avengers Infinity War, a lot of their intended impact on certain audience members like me was mitigated a bunch because, oh yeah, but he's coming back, because that's what Marvel does. They could have had Thanos decapitate Tony Stark in that scene, and I still would have gone, woo! But I mean, he's coming back. Like, he's going to come back. Like, and it kind of undermines that. So even if they do pull a permanent death in Endgame, I'm not going to feel the full weight of the emotional punch, because we are just so now acclimatized to Marvel brings them all back. No death is permanent in the MCU. They'll bring them all back, and maybe they'll do it. But look, even if, and I don't think they'll kill Chris Evans. I don't think they'll kill Captain America. But even if they do, I have zero doubt within 3 or 4 years he'll be back. I have zero doubt about that. But anyway, Rob, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that somebody is going to have to die, because they need to cap off this with they have to pack an emotional wallop to the ending of this 11-year saga. And the Infinity Saga, with every great saga comes some kind of sacrifice. Otherwise, it's meaningless, or something will happen. Even at the end of Return of the King, Frodo leaves. He's never going to return to Middle Earth. He's going off to the Grey Havens with the elves, and he says that emotional farewell to his 3 best friends. And while he didn't die, Frodo didn't die, his soul was compromised. The going to Mordor and saving Middle Earth took its toll, and he was never going to be the same guy again. And while he didn't die, part of him was changed irrevocably forever. and that's why he had to leave. And that is something like that's going to happen at the end of Endgame.
There's going to be major changes to the MCU, their characters and the universe as a whole. That I have no doubt. But again, even if somebody does die in this movie, I'm just going to completely 100% believe they're going to be back in a year or two, or 3 or 4, but they'll be back. You know what I mean? So, but let's see what type of permanent changes they do institute here. All right, what's next?
I'm upset. You think Tony will make a live-action Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman film? And if so, could that be the Venom version of Spider-Man?
I don't think so. Look, I can't say, and we lost Robert again. Once again, we lost Robert. So I don't know why we keep losing Robert. Anyway, my thought on that is, look, I don't believe right now they can do any live-action Spider anybody. I think as long as Marvel, they're allowing Marvel to have Spider-Man in their live-action universe, I don't think you're going to see live-action Spider anybody in the Sony universe. Now, I don't know that. I'm not saying that based on any insider information. That just seems to make sense right now. So whether that carries through or not, we'll have to wait and see. All right, what's next?
Akshu D. Hey, John, I'm so excited for the Black Widow solo movie. Shouldn't it kind of also be an origin movie for Hawkeye? He is, after all, one of the reasons she joined S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first place.
Doesn't need to be, and I think there might be some people in Rob's back. I don't think it needs to be. He keeps dropping out. I don't think it needs to be. It doesn't have to have anything to do with Hawkeye at all. Yeah, there is that connection, but your movie doesn't have to cover that connection at all. Nothing is saying that this is a prequel movie per se. So no, it doesn't have to involve Hawkeye. Rob, do you think they do a Black Widow movie that it has to involve Hawkeye?
No, I don't think it has to, but I think that they've set up their relationship as one of the more intriguing, unexplored elements of the MCU. I mean, I really enjoyed in the first Avengers the fact that she really felt the need to save him. When he was basically corrupted. And it was almost as if, like, I don't know if it was romantic or it was more like a sibling thing, but I thought that their bond was really one of the great elements of that first movie, and I'd like to see it explored, but it doesn't have to be.
Right. All right. What's next?
I'm so excited for Black Widow too. I love her. Willow Yang, how would you have reacted if John Wick had a kitten that got killed instead of a puppy? Would Campea have been cheering on the Russian mobsters?
Dude, I would have had a T-shirt that said Team Russian Mob. I would have had a big T-shirt that said Team Russian Mob. Dude. One less filthy cat in the world. Fabulous. Yes.
Can I just tell you a secret?
Yes.
I ordered one of those, when you get your Facebook feed and you're a geek and there's T-shirts that pop up, like genre shirts. There was a shirt that popped up with Goose on it that says, "Bring me Thanos." I bought it.
I like that.
I bought that shit. I'm gonna wear it to Endgame. Unapologetically.
That's probably I probably wouldn't mind that one because he's not a cat. He just looks like a cat. Anyway, all right. What's next?
Dan Ketchum, new Lois, Perry plus Martha with new Superman.
You're saying like if they reboot Superman and have a new actor playing him and all that kind of stuff, will they also recast Lois and Perry and Martha? Nothing says you have to. I've been getting the feeling for a while that we're going to be getting a new Lois. I've been getting a while that I think she's kind of over it. And I don't know that she's interested in playing it anymore. But it doesn't mean you have to redo everybody. I would expect to see Martha the same. Perry seems to be over in the MCU now. So I don't think you have to, but it's possible. It's possible. All right, what's next?
Jay Bling. So Rob has a new hot toy of Catherine Trammell from Basic Instinct. What does he do with it?
Rob? Just admire it, right?
First of all, it is not a hot toy. It's made by a company called Enterbay. Or pardon me. I'm wrong. It's made by Blitzway, the company that makes the Tyler Durden 2-pack and that makes the Ghostbusters figure. It is a quarter-scale statue, and basically quarter scale. And she comes with a chair. It's the moment where she's being interrogated, and it's the famous moment. I just want everyone to know I just talk to her. I interrogate her. I ask her questions, whether she really did or did not kill her boyfriend, Johnny Boz.
And what the runtime of Avengers Endgame will be. All right, what's next?
Zach Bartron, I have a summoning circle set up in hopes for a season 4 of Hannibal, but in case that doesn't work, have you heard of anything about it recently?
No, I heard the showrunner talk recently about it, and he did not sound optimistic like anything of that was going to happen. Rob, have you heard anything else?
Brian Fuller himself did tell me that they were supposed to open up the Hannibal season 4 writers' room in April of 2019, but he told me that 2 years ago, and like you said, I don't think we share his optimistic appraisal of the situation, nor does he anymore.
Yeah,
but do I want to see Hannibal season 4? Come on, one of my favorite, perhaps the greatest horror television show ever made.
All right, what's next?
Braz Drake, Dark Phoenix trailers do not show Quicksilver after he challenges Jean. Possible Mystique and or Quicksilver die.
I think there's a lot of characters that you don't see again, but that was a theory that was brought up before. What everybody's assuming is Mystique that dies. What if it's Quicksilver? And maybe it's Quicksilver. That would have more emotional impact on, say, Magneto, because that's his son. So that is possible. But, you know, trailers are only so long. You can only show so much. And the fact that we don't see him after that shot doesn't necessarily mean anything. Rob, do you think maybe he dies in that scene?
I don't necessarily think so. I mean, there's a lot of characters. We don't see a lot of the characters, but no, I don't think he's necessarily going to die. I think they had to kill Jennifer Lawrence, though. Not that we know she dies either.
Yeah, no, we're all just assuming it, but maybe that's a misdirect. All right, what's next?
Braz Drake continues, Quicksilver would have handled rest scenes and trailers easily and, of course, epically. Eric then finds out he's his son and is pissed.
Yeah, I think there is some dramatic narrative possibilities you could do there with that happening. It may not be an either or. It might not be either Mystique or Quicksilver. It could be both. It could be both and that could be there. Or he could have a bigger role in this movie than we think. But yeah, there's definitely some interesting narrative possibilities. All right, what's next?
YTA 2513, just give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Wait. I worry what you just heard was give me a lot of bacon and eggs. What I said was give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Do you understand?
One of the great lines from one of the greatest television characters in history, Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. Wait. I'm afraid what you heard me say was give me lots of bacon and eggs. I want you to give me all your bacon. It is... First of all, I could sit down. I sometimes get caught in little rabbit holes on YouTube of just watching best of Ron Swanson videos. Uh-huh. It's just the best. One of the funniest things he's ever done. He just comes out, take a memo, dear Canada, you, and they play. That's his memo to Canada. Anyway, I love Ron Swanson. That's one of the great lines. But there's even 10 or 20 that are even better than that. If you guys ever want to go down a rabbit hole on YouTube, hop on YouTube, search Ron Swanson lines or best of Ron Swanson, and just sit down and laugh for 10 or 15 minutes because one of the best shows ever in sitcom history. I just love that character so much. All right, what's next?
Christopher Brickner, Dumbo review embargo lifts today at noon, I heard.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got invited to a screening last night. I took a pass. I don't go to a lot of press screenings these days anymore, but I know a number of people who did go, so the press screenings are down and out of the way. The movie's opening soon. Makes sense. We'll probably see the review embargo lift. I'm hearing good things, so let's keep our eyes open for that. All right, what's next?
Akshu, Shazam vs. Thor Ragnarok, your pick.
Ooh, tough. I loved Thor Ragnarok. I love that movie. You know, I said I like Shazam and Captain Marvel both very, very much. But I would give the slight edge to Shazam. I think if you offer me the choice right now to see Captain Marvel again right now or see Shazam right now, I'm probably going to lean towards Shazam. I'd probably lean towards Ragnarok if you offered me the two options to Shazam and Ragnarok. But you got to understand how great of a time I had at Ragnarok. I mean, it's close. It's close, but I'll lean towards Ragnarok. But Shazam is all types of awesome. I cannot wait to watch that movie again. As a matter of fact, I just said that I take a pass on a lot of press screenings now. I just got an invite for another press screening to a press screening for Shazam, but I'm going to be in Vegas, so I had to turn it down, but I would have accepted that one. I totally would have accepted that one. All right, what's next?
Orange Han, I've seen video essays that claim the MCU relies too much on bathos, an abrupt shift in tone from serious to trivial or lighthearted. Your thoughts?
It's perfect balance. It's one of the things they do great, and one of the reasons why their movies are so successful is the fact, I talk about this all the time, that they get serious and heavy, and boom, before the audience gets weighed down with that, they lighten it up. And then before it becomes just a yuck, they bring heavy and serious, and then they lighten up. It is one of the most perfect uses of that technique that any studio's ever done, and probably down at the heart of it, one of the reasons why their films are so successful and work so well. Like, you can watch like an Infinity War where incredible tragedy happens and the stakes are super high, but they always bring the audience along by keeping them entertained and give them a laugh when they need it, and then go heavy and then bring a laugh. It's not an over-reliance. It's just good filmmaking. They know what works in their films and what their audiences and what has worked and been effective with their audiences. It's a fabulous technique that I've never seen anybody else use better. Anyway, Rob, do you think it's something they over rely on, or do you think they
No,
do it
I
just
think that's, I think like you just said, that's what makes those movies work. They're superhero movies. You know, comedic timing, it's part of it all. Like, you know, one of the great moments in Batman v Superman, a movie not known for its comedy, but how great is the moment when, is she with you? No, I thought she was with you. When Wonder Woman shows up. I mean,
yeah.
God, we need those things. As any combat veteran will tell you, some of the funniest, most darkly sardonic people are people in the military. You know, their job description, they have to have a sense of humor to keep them going. That's what, in the face of sudden death or great adversity, you've got to keep it a little light, or you're going to be consumed by the darkness.
All right, what's next?
50 Shades of Crypto, with Endgame set to make 50 to 65 million in its third weekend, plus the Game of Thrones final being that Sunday. Could this affect John Wick's opening weekend? Should it have moved?
No, look, you're always going to open your movie against other movies. There are going to be other movies that open the same week as you, other movies that open the week after, other movies that open the week before, and all this kind of stuff. You're getting into your third week. You're in a period of time here where most everybody who's going to go and see Endgame has seen Endgame. Some people will be going again. But no, I think they're perfectly fine where they are. Every movie opening against your movie before, after, or same week will have an effect. And I think it will have an effect on John Wick, but I think they're fine where they are. Rob?
Well, yeah, and remember, the people that are going the third week that a movie opens are people that weren't going to be going the first or second weeks anyway. They're
Right.
people that wait for, they've got family obligations, and all of the people that went and saw Endgame the first week are going to see John Wick 3, Parabellum, when it opens. I know I am.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Brian Esparza, over under 25% Endgame past Titanic, both over 3 hours.
Well, just to be clear, right now, we don't know that Avengers is going to be over 3 hours. It could be. I don't think Endgame will pass Titanic, but 25% is a low number. I think it's got a better chance than 25%, so I'll take the over on 25%. Rob?
Me too.
All right, what's next?
Rob's excitement. Full of Dead. Social Network is my second favorite movie ever. So intense without action, great dialogue and performances, and amazing cinematography. Army Hammer MVP.
I'll tell you how good Army Hammer is in that movie. It wasn't until about a week after I saw it that I found out it was one guy. No, honestly, I
didn't know.
When I saw that movie for the first time, and when I thought about it afterwards and all that kind of stuff, I was just assumed because I'd never even heard of Army Hammer because that George Miller movie never got made, so none of us had really heard or knew anything about Army Hammer yet. I just thought they got a couple of twins to play it. They played it brilliant. What was his line? I'm 6'2", 205 pounds, and there's two of me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, it's great. And again, I harp on it every time that this movie comes up. Andrew Garfield was robbed of a Best Supporting Actor nomination for that. He was the humanity. He was the humanity in that film. And in a movie populated with a bunch of douchebags, he brought the human heart to it. And it was because of him that I really feel that movie worked, and he never got a Best Supporting Actor nomination, and I always thought he was robbed for that.
I love The Social Network so much. I think it's one of the most rewatchable movies of the last 20 years. Every performance is great.
Yep.
You know, Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker, Dakota Johnson is in it, Brenda Song is in it. Everybody in that movie is great. I love that film so much.
All right, what's next?
Henry Stevens. John, in my opinion, what are your top 3 rants? My fave are Star Wars, racism. What is that?
Yeah, that probably means racism.
Yeah, racism, jobbing, Superman, and your
Jobbing.
God damn it. Jobbing, Superman, and your comments on anything Transformers.
Yeah, I think when people talk to me about the various rants, and I guess I have a tendency to rant sometimes.
Dude, they're the best. And sitting next to you, I miss sitting next to you when you rant. They're the best.
The one that a lot of people bring up goes all the way back to the AMC days. This is the one I probably get mentioned to me the most. All the way back in the AMC days was when people were still insisting that Christian Bale was coming back to be Batman again. And despite everything that the studio had said and all proof to the contrary, there was a large group of the fan base that was still insisting, no, Christian Bale's coming back. He's going to be Batman. He's coming back to be Batman. And I just finally went off this one time. And I said something along the lines of, what's it going to take? Is it going to, although I was saying it more animated. I said, does Christopher Nolan need to sneak into your room in the middle of the night, tuck you in, and bring you a nice platter, some cheeses and wines, and stroke you on the head gently and say, it's okay, but Christian's not coming back? Is that what it's going to take for you to finally accept that Christian Bale is not coming back as Batman? And that's the one I get mentioned to me the most. The Star Wars one was an unexpected one because it was around that time that there was a lot of stuff going on around The Force Awakens where, there's a lot of, stormtroopers aren't black and blah, blah, blah. And all this, this total bunch of chauvinism and racism and sexism and stuff that was going around. And there was a thing got sent into me that was something along the lines of, hey, John, you're alienating some of your audience when you talk about that. And I was just like, fuck you. I'll tell you straight up, I don't need viewers all that much. There's more to life than what I do here. And if you don't want to watch my show because I'm telling you that you're an asshole for just complaining because somebody's black, or you can't handle the fact that women take a prominent role in something and it's not just men and blah, blah, blah. And if you've got a problem with that, if you don't think movies should have black guys in it and you don't think women should have a place in movies and blah, blah, I'll tell you right now, I don't give a shit if you watch my show or not. Go away. I don't want you here. I would rather have half my viewership and have a good, healthy community where we're not excluding people based on their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, whatever. I would rather have that, and I'll be fine. Believe that. I'll be fine. Because I'm fucking John Campea. I'll be fine whatever I do. I'm fine. And if that means taking half the viewers that I have, then I'll go with half the viewers that I have. But I would rather have that than some toxic, poisonous environment where we're entertaining people who have the notion that black people don't get to have a presence, that, gay people shouldn't be acknowledged, that women shouldn't have a place in this stuff. I would rather have half. Anyway, now I get going. I got to stop.
Wow, that was good, man. I was like, get fired up.
But I mean, that was one that I got off on a lot. But anyway, yeah, those are some of the ones that I've heard about the most, and maybe it's been suggested to me I should tone down on my ranting a little bit, and maybe I should. But anyway, thanks for that, Henry. I appreciate that very much. All right, what's next?
Roy L. John just finished season 7 of Game of Thrones, April 14th now.
It's coming, and I don't know I don't know a lot of people who are more excited than this guy right here. Rob, you're counting down the days.
Dude, it's like April. Somebody reached into my brain and said, "What do you want to have happen in your future?" And they're just giving me April 2019, just rolling it out for me on a platter.
It's coming. All right, what's next?
Sir Ivan Bennett. Hey guys, I listened to the podcast Best Movie, Worst Movie, and was shocked that John put Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as his worst Marvel movie. Yeah, I get it. All film is subjective. I saw it again last week. And was blown away by the layers and themes in the movie. The main villain threatening the heroes was ego, not Kurt Russell, but all the Guardians battle with their own egos and history of abuse. Lindsay Ellis did a video about that exact same thing. It's a great analysis. Give it a watch. Maybe you'll see something new. I, for one, have a whole new respect for this film.
No, I think it's a bad film. No,
Come on, dude.
No, let's be clear.
Our viewer is correct.
I did not say it was it's not a bad film. I actually enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But, and I also said during the podcast that, look, since Cody had already taken Iron Man 2, and since you, Rob, had already taken Thor Ragnarok, or not Thor Ragnarok, Thor the Dark World.
Dark World.
I said, okay, I would go with one of those two, but just to be different, I'll take my third one. And honestly, the third Marvel film that I appreciate the least would be Guardians 2. And it's still a movie that I liked. I still like that movie. But, you know, a lot of the things you're bringing up, Sear, are things they were going for. And it's great in a movie that you go for certain things and you introduce certain themes, but going for it and bringing it in and executing are two different things. And to me, they just didn't execute. At least not as well as they did in Guardians 1. Again, I don't want to be misconstrued as saying I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I do like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But the fact of the matter is, it went a little too yuck for me. Like, in the first Guardians, and we talked about this on the podcast, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the humor felt very organic. Like, everything that came on, and there was a lot of humor in the film, but it all seemed to flow very naturally. I never felt that with Guardians 2. With Guardians 2, it often felt very jarring. It's like, quick, we need to insert joke here. And it never flowed naturally like it did in the first Guardians. So, as a result, I found the first Guardians much funnier and flowed much more naturally. And in this one, I didn't. Again, I don't want to be construed as saying I don't like the film. I do like it, and I would have taken Iron Man 2, and I would have taken Thor the Dark World in front of it, but just because that was the one that was left, that's the one that I said. But anyway, Rob, what do you think?
Well, I'm still hooked on the feeling of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, just like our viewer. I quite enjoyed. Look, the movie really spoke to me on a certain level because, one, look, I don't disagree with you, and the idea of the humor of Guardians 2 is a little forced. But when you're dealing with Ego, the living planet, you're dealing with these crazy concepts. I thought the fact that they did spend so much time dealing with these interpersonal relationships and the broken families. I was especially taken aback by that scene with Rocket, that one moment where, you know, he's feeling despair and he feels like he's being made fun of, and you really get insight into how he feels as a raccoon, a sentient raccoon. It really worked for me.
All right, let's just take a couple more. What's next?
No regrets. Am I the only one excited for the Jay and Silent Bob sequel? No one seems to be talking about it. I hope it doesn't disappoint. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's not yet time really for people to get too terribly excited about it because, you know, I mean, they're just shooting it right now. They're just shooting it. So marketing hasn't begun. Trailers haven't come out. All that kind of stuff. It is a low-budget, small franchise. It's never been a big blockbuster, right? So, and Kevin Smith, well, who I adore, doesn't have the biggest, you know, he isn't the biggest filmmaker in the world, so that's understandable. I'd say have a little patience, wait till he's finished the film. Once some marketing starts, once some trailers start, then you'll start to see people getting a little bit more excited about it. But don't expect it to be like a $200 million film, because that's just not what Kevin Smith movies are designed to be or what they've ever been. I just hope it's really good, and that's what I keep my fingers crossed for. All right, what's next?
Murray, over under 50% that Jack survives after season 14 of Supernatural.
I'm actually going to take the under 15 or 50% on that. I wouldn't say like low, like 10% or 20%, but 50%, I'll take the under. Look, this is a show that is not adverse to giving us a lot of tragedy. So I'm going to take the under 50% on that. That's where I think it's going. All right, two more quick ones.
Roy L., Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Have you watched it?
Nope. I was going to watch it. I thought it looked stupid as hell. But then I was going to watch it because a few people I know watched it and said, hey, John, this is actually pretty good. And my wife, Ann, was super stoked to see it. So my wife, Ann, goes on this trip, and then she comes back, and I'm like, hey, we were sitting down one night, and we were caught up on our shows. I said, should we watch Teen Titans Go to the Movies? She goes, actually, I watched it on the plane on the way back, and it's not any good. I'm like, okay, that killed all my enthusiasm right there. So, but again, take that with a grain of salt. There's a lot of people who say they watched it, and they quite enjoyed it. But I thought it looked, I can't even begin to tell you how bad I thought it looked. But then my wife saw it and she didn't like it. And she really loves that kind of stuff. So it just killed my enthusiasm. So I didn't see. Did you ever see that one, Rob?
No, but I did want to see it because I love the Titans. But yeah, nothing really drew me into it.
All right.
But I'll watch it. I'll catch up with it one day.
I probably will too someday. All right. Final question of the day. Actually, you know what? Let's just do three more. Let's do three more and then we'll wrap it up. I know we've gone a little long today, but whatever.
Slow D, in JA or JA, all our movies have intermission, and to be honest, I have never had a problem because they find the right place to pause the film to give us time to use the restroom and get food. Win-win for both sides.
Yeah, that's slow D's in Jamaica. That's the thing that I always hear. It's like people who don't have, whenever this debate comes up about intermission, it reminds me a lot of the debate about whether movie theaters should have pre-assigned seats. Like, now that we have it, everybody realizes how great it is. But Rob, there was a long time when I was advocating hard that all theaters in North America should have pre-assigned seats. And there are all these people who make up these ridiculous reasons about why we shouldn't. But every other country in the world that had it for years was writing in and say, you guys don't know what you're missing out on. Like, it stuns us to find out that you guys don't have pre-assigned seatings. You guys are in the dark ages. This is the best. And people would write that in. And whenever I hear from people that are in countries where they do have intermissions, they're all like, no, man, this is great. Having an intermission is fantastic. And it's just the people who we don't have intermission. We imagine all these things being terrible about it. But the people in the other countries who have, they're like, no, it's actually really great. We take a bathroom break. We fill our soda, less people getting up and down during the movie. It's fantastic. I don't know. But you're still pretty iffy on the whole intermission idea, right?
Yeah, again, if it's built in by the filmmakers, if they've designed the film to have an intermission, I would be less inclined to object to it. But that it's haphazard or done willy-nilly, that sort of gives me pause. But look,
I have to believe there'd be somebody. I have to believe they put some thought into it, though. I'm sure the theaters would put thought into it.
I need to be convinced. But I love assigned seating. I had movie theater seat anxiety for most of my life, where I better get a good seat. I better get a good seat. Having assigned seating is the greatest thing in the world. You can pick it. You know where you're going to sit. I don't have to worry if I'm going to go to an opening night screening of Endgame. I don't have to wait in line. I can get my seat. I already know where I'm going. It's all good.
Dude, I still remember going to like a Wolverine movie, and I was visiting Canada at a theater where they didn't have pre-assigned seating yet, and I had to go 2.5 hours early just to stand in line for 2.5 hours, man. Just so I knew I wouldn't get a terrible seat. That's the dark ages, man. That's the dark ages. Anyway, okay, what's next?
Yeah, that sucks. Alan Gonzalez, are you going to see Endgame early?
Yes, I can't. I'm not allowed to say when, and I'm not allowed to say where, but I am seeing it early. I will let you guys know when I'm allowed to say so. All right, what's next?
Michael Jones, Deadline, is currently doing their list for most profitable movies of 2018, but they don't use box office, just profits from home media estimated from their box office against all expenses. Any idea why they do that?
No, but it sounds like us. First of all, Michael, that's a generous super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel that way. No, but it sounds like an interesting observation. It sounds like an interesting thing to look at. I mean, look, we've known more and more over the years, the money from home video releases, particularly physical media, the profitability has been dropping more and more and more and more. So we've known that, but it's an interesting thing to look at. So I'm fascinated. I'm going to go look at that. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, me too. I mean, they used to, home video was really the saving grace of Hollywood. And as we've seen, people keep telling me physical media is not going to go away. But, as we've seen, it's dropped 15%, 10% every year. And there's a law of diminishing returns. Home video is going away. Streaming is by far more successful than physical media is now. And it's going to keep changing. But those are vibrant, important numbers in the life of how much a movie grosses. They're very, very important. So I'm curious to see what those numbers are.
All right. Just because I just got a glimpse of the last. Let's just take this last one.
I lost my place. I X'd out. Will you say it?
Okay, yeah. So 50 Shades of Crypto writes, John, this is the third time I've asked you for Peter Jackson's phone number. I know you've got my last 2 emails. What kind of service is this? Okay, so where that comes from, and some of you probably heard the story already. For those of you who are newer to the channel, maybe you haven't. Back in my movie blog days, I mean, you guys would be shocked to know how many times I get emails like this. So this one time back in my movie blog days, I got this email from a viewer, and I get stuff like this all the time saying, John, I love Lord of the Rings. I want to be a hobbit in the upcoming newest Lord. I think this might have been before Return of the King or before the Hobbit movies, whatever. I want to be a hobbit. Can you give me Peter Jackson's phone number? Because I really want to get to be an extra in one of these movies. It would be a lifelong dream of mine. Thanks. So I get like 100 some odd emails a day. So I'm like, okay, so I can't respond to even a tenth of the ones that I get. So obviously, okay, that one I'm just going to ignore. About 3 days later, I get an email from the same guy. This is one of my favorite emails I've ever gotten. And it's like all caps. Campea, it's been like 3 days since I asked for Peter Jackson's phone number. What the hell kind of customer service is this? And I remember thinking at the time, if you ever want in just a quick snapshot about how a lot of people view entitlement, it's like, there it is. Just there it is. And I will never forget that. It was the first time that I remember reading an email that somebody sent me that I just sat and howled uncontrollably, but also was just stunned. And I just sat there for like a good half hour just reading this short email 1,000 times and reading it over and over and over again. And so clearly 50 Shades of Crypto is somebody who goes back a long ways with me and doing this thing. It's one of the oddest things that I've ever had sent to me. Okay, guys. For everybody else who still has outstanding questions to come, from Jerome Lim, Ask Shu, I'm Upset, Kevin, Aska, and all the way down, do not worry. I'm going to make a companion video today to get to all the other questions that we still have outstanding. I'm going to get your questions answered on a video today. Just keep your eyes open for that. It'll be coming later this afternoon. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank the people here making this show so worthwhile with me. First of all, the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
John, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or my website, theburnettwork.net.
And of course, the equally wonderful Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my Instagram at Ashley Whalen, or my Twitter is AshAttack1.
And you guys can, of course, follow me on Instagram at John Campea, and go and visit the website, www.thejohncampeashow.com. Guys, that will do it for us for now. Again, don't forget, we've got that companion video coming a little bit later where all the rest of the questions will get answered. My name is John Campea, guys, and until our next show, bye-bye.